Penn State fans, Johnny McGonigal, Nick Farabaugh here at Penn State Pro Day in Farabaugh Hall. Bob Flounders is en route. We're there in Cleveland for the wrestling championships. So you've got us today talking Penn State football, talking Penn State Pro Day. Obviously a big stop on the pre-draft process for a lot of these former Nittany Lions. They started off, Nick, a lot of them at the Senior Bowl. You know, we saw them down in Mobile, Dani Dennis-Sutton, Zaki Wheatley, Zane Durant, Katron and Nick as well. Saw them out of the Combine in Indianapolis a few weeks ago, and now they're here at Pro Day, and then upcoming they'll have pre-draft visits with teams, and ultimately the draft on April 23rd. Nick, what stood out to you most today? I guess we can start with Drew Allar being the biggest name here.
I mean, Drew Allar threw again. He threw at the Combine, but he put together a real NFL script, a lot of under center play action, a lot of layering the throws. We saw, I think, a lot more touch from him. I thought that was something that he wanted to showcase. We knew the arm was going to fire, right? We knew that's his, he's got a live arm. I probably think he wanted a few throws back. Some of them sailed on him, but he put the whole script out there. I thought he did what he needed to do. It's not a surprise that Drew Allar's arm is elite. That is his greatest tool. And I don't really think, from where he was at the end of the year, where that injury happened to where he is now, did the stock change all that much? Probably not, but I think he's doing what he needs to do to say, hey, I could be this toolsy guy that a team in the mid-rounds is going to take a chance on to develop as, a potential guy that could turn into more than a mid-round draft pick. And I think that's what he's going to be right now. Yeah. He's not going to be the top, 10 pick that people thought he was going to be, but I think he's turning himself into a prospect that is a legitimately decent middle round option.
He's in a really interesting spot and really has been ever since the injury, really ever since Penn State started losing games, right? Going into this past season, there were national championship expectations, and then around Drew specifically, there was a thought, at least there was a ceiling that he could reach, that he could possibly be the number one pick. He could be a top 10 guy, and it didn't come to fruition. Obviously, Penn State lost 3 straight. James Franklin was fired, and in that last loss to Northwestern, Drew had a serious ankle injury. It was a big deal for him to be throwing at the Combine in the first place. That was a goal of his throughout, really the rest of the regular season when he was rehabbing, and then into this pre-draft process, that he wanted to be able to throw in Indianapolis. He wanted to be able to throw here at Farabaugh Hall in front of NFL scouts, coaches, and out at the Combine executives, and prove, if there was any doubt, that he's got a cannon of an arm. And so we do know that. We know that there were inconsistencies in his play, throughout last season, even the season and the season before that. So there could be a team, I wouldn't be surprised, that get enamored with that raw ability and take him earlier than some might expect in the second round. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the 4th, 5th. It's a real crapshoot, this quarterback class in general, but then also with Drew specifically. The top prospect here for Penn State, the top name that'll go off the board for Penn State will be Vega Ioane, interior offensive lineman, guard who has practice at center, so he has a little bit of versatility there. What do you like about Venga's game?
A lot of power. He's polished. He's a professional at every level. There's just not a lot of projection with him. You see what you get, and it's a high-level, high-floor guy that still has a lot of ceiling to go. He's a good athlete. This guy is the best interior offensive lineman in the class. I truly believe that. I've watched him kind of throughout the draft process just continue to soar. I think, as we started this, it was like maybe he's a fringe first, right? He could go late first, early second. Now it's top 15, I think that's where we're at right now with him, and I think he's going to be the first interior offensive lineman, the true, pure interior offensive lineman off the board. He can play either guard spot. You talked about center. This is a guy that just really pops off the tape. He's bearing guys into the dirt. Really clean, squeaky prospect. Love Vega Ioane's game.
And you mentioned he's looking like a top 15 guy now. The Steelers picking at 21, the Eagles picking at 23. It doesn't look like he's going to be there for those two teams unless they trade up, or unless there's a run on a different position early and he gets pushed down. But this Penn State class, so many guys too that Dani Dennis-Sutton, Nick Singleton, obviously with a foot injury, was unfortunate, but there could be a team that banks on his career and his athleticism. Katron Allen, Zaki Wheatley could ultimately be the second Penn State player off the board given the safety class and his ability. It's a really deep group. Venga will be the first name off the board, but really wouldn't be surprised by any of those guys being the second Penn State player off the board. But look, a lot still to come in this pre-draft process. You got the pre-draft visits, the top 30 visits. You got private workouts. In Nick Singleton's case with the foot injury, he's hoping to be able to work out for teams, or at least put 40 time and stuff on tape to send that out. So still a lot more to go, but I mean, we are also barreling down towards the draft on April April 23rd in Pittsburgh. And so we'll see where those Penn State players ultimately go in a little more than a month from now. But, obviously in the meantime, stay tuned to PennLive. We'll have plenty, from a Penn State perspective, an Eagles perspective, a Steelers perspective, plenty more to come.